Hey everyone, welcome to the Commissioners Clubhouse and the LCC Network for week 7 of the off season. We've got a great show for you, like always. There we go. With us today, we got Isaac, like always. What's going on, man?
Up?
And we got a very special guest today. The guy's going to get the second overall pick in the 2019 draft. What's going on, Cameron?
What is up? I'm happy to be here.
And then we got this guy, Jameson, this bum. He doesn't do anything,
Trash.
you know.
Trash.
That's the normal bum, not doing anything on the show. So this week, we've got, just, again, quick announcement. Top 10 trades are 5 through 1. We've got a topic here called Bold Predictions. We'll kind of talk about a couple and discuss it. And then Fantasy Valentine. So it's going to be an awesome episode. And quick announcement. Fees are due March 3rd. So again, late February. So get those in ASAP, as quick as possible. So, all right, Pat, you want to jump straight into your segment? We'll pick up where we left off last week.
Let's do it.
All right.
Pumped.
Any honorable mentions before I start pressing?
No honorable mentions. If you didn't hear last week's show, make sure you go back and listen through numbers 10 through 6 and some of the honorable mentions that we went through. Don't want to spend a lot of time on the previous stuff today just because we've got so much more to cover. So let's jump into it, Jameson.
All right, here we go.
Thank God for
number
5.
What?
You cut me off. You cut me off with the number 5.
I always press the button. I didn't know you were going to start talking.
Go ahead.
So anyways, number 5 here. This is a good one, and I know Cameron's going to remember this for sure. 2012, we've got I guess Cameron's the only one on the show right now that was around for this. But in 2012, we had the first ever draft pick trade in league history. Jade gave up his first overall pick for Chris Johnson in 2012 to Cody. And so what this ended up doing for Jade is giving him not only Adrian Peterson, but Chris Johnson. And this obviously was a big push for Jade's season that year. I mean, Chris Johnson wasn't a top 3 running back or anything, but he was still really good. Jade ended up making the playoffs. Cody did not. Jade ended up winning his first overall championship that year. Johnson ended up finished 13th among RBs. Adrian Peterson finished first in running back. So if you pair those two together, that is a deadly combo for sure. While with Cody, with that draft pick, ended up getting Jamal Charles, who finished 9th among running backs that year. So, I mean, honestly, it kind of paid out well for Cody if you look at it because he ended up with a better running back. But still, it's kind of funny that Jade ended up winning a championship still.
We all thought Jade was crazy, by the way.
Yeah,
We did that trade.
it was, dude, that was it was big. I remember it was controversial. Like some people were like, "No, you shouldn't even be able to do that."
I wasn't ready.
That's what she said.
So yeah, that's number 5. That was again the first ever draft pick traded, and it basically set the path for all the trades we see now involving draft picks and offseason waiver wire picks. You guys got anything else to add?
No, a bunch of Jade. Crap. Nobody wants to hear about that. Moving on. 4.
All right, we're moving on.
Yeah,
All right, here we
do
go.
it. Jeez,
Number 4.
do your job, Jameson. No, I'm just kidding.
My bad. I am so sorry.
You had one job, Jameson.
Yeah, one job.
I was focused. That's why I didn't have anything to say. I was so focused on the down drop. Didn't even do it.
All right.
Thank God you didn't cut me off this time.
This is now Cameron's definitely going to remember this trade. Number 4 was 2013. The very next year, Cameron ended up giving up Andre Brown for Terrence Williams, which right now everyone listening right now probably
Am I
is like,
am I allowed to cuss on the podcast?
No F words. No F words.
Jade, I still hate you for this.
Dude, this right here makes this rivalry between Cameron and Jade so much sweeter. These players are totally irrelevant, by the way, in every stretch of the sense. They suck now. I don't even know if they're even playing, to be honest. They both.
I don't even know who they talking about.
Exactly. Well, let me tell you the story behind this. Or actually, Cameron, you can probably tell this story a little bit better than I can. What was like everything that went on with this?
I think Jade, he was in like a tight race with Tyler for like the division. It was either for the division or making the playoffs. I think it was for the division. But he's like, dude, your team's already stacked. Blah blah blah. Just give me Andre Brown. I need to beat Tyler. I need to make it to the playoffs. I was like, all right, well, you're gonna give him back to me? He's like, yeah, I'll give him to you next week. And it gets to next week time. Jade's playing me in the playoffs, and then he's like, nah, dude, I can't really give him back to you. Sorry. I mean, I gave you Terrence Williams. He's good, dude. He scored a touchdown last week. Yeah.
I swear, that's the only reason you want to Cam on the show, was just to talk about that trade.
Dude, no, you guys have, like, this trade right here. Not only was it messed up that these two guys did this, and Jordan and I didn't know. We thought this was like, okay, they're going to do this trade, whatever. But it was literally just so Jade could beat Tyler and get into the playoffs. Then who knows? Maybe Tyler would have 2 playoff appearances by now.
Maybe Tyler would have won a championship. We'll never know.
Never know. Yeah, we'll never know.
If I would have kept Andre Brown, I would have won the championship.
Let's settle down. Andre Brown. So let's dive into that. It's
okay. Andre Brown. It came down to it. Andre Brown and Alfred Morris. It was a Monday night game. Alfred Morris put up like 6 points. Andre Brown scored like 2 or 3 touchdowns, and he beat me.
So essentially, if this trade didn't happen, it's possible Jordan would have won, and actually would have won Jade's division. I think if I remember, I was Jade, maybe Tyler, and Jordan. But Jordan would have actually won the division. If this trade wouldn't have happened. Jade ended up Jade possibly would have missed the playoffs because of it. Cameron makes it past the wild card potentially. But Jade ends up beating Cameron in the playoffs on top of that to make it even worse. So although with Andre Brown, who was in the starting lineup, that was his
That's
one.
What you get for cheating.
That's what you get for cheating. That's right. And that's the thing.
Karma's a bitch.
We weren't gonna let Jade make that trade afterwards because of how messed up it was. But we didn't even have to tell Jade because Jade literally wasn't gonna do it to begin with, which makes it even funnier.
Here you go, Cameron.
Never trust anybody.
Oh man.
Never trust anybody. I don't care.
All right.
I will tell you right now that trade is what ruined Cameron. That's why he never wants to trade, because he thinks everybody's trying to screw him. But honestly, it's not always the case. But thanks, Jade. You're
That's also
you've heard it for everyone.
So thanks, guys.
Hey, no. I made a trade in 2016. It didn't matter because I went 1-10, but I made a trade.
I made a trade.
1 and 2 years.
Yeah.
Slow down. What? No, 1 and 3 years. 2016, 2017, 2018. Yeah, 1 and 3 years.
Yeah,
Terrible.
so be proud of me.
So this trade, right? All right. Well, hit it up, Davidson.
Number 3.
Yeah, I almost had to stop myself. I almost blurted this number 3 out. So this one right here, honestly, in my opinion, this trade honestly set the tone of the championship and the playoffs for this year. And it was Billy's trade with Peyton this past summer. In obviously 2018, Billy traded Odell Beckham Jr. for Ezekiel Elliott, who Peyton had. Both, as we know, Zeke ended up being a top 3 player in his position. OBJ, very far from it, to say the least. Billy ends up making the playoffs. Billy ends up winning the division. And Billy ends up winning the conference, in my opinion, because of this trade right here, which on paper, you could argue this was a fair trade to a certain degree, but you've got to be crazy if you literally think, and even let's say at best he was going to be a wide receiver 1, is going to be a top 3 running back in any fantasy league. You've lost your mind if you think that.
Just let me say this. Peyton's argument was that he already had Kamara. He already had Saquon Barkley, but he was weak at receiver.
No. He didn't have Saquon.
Yeah, this is before the rookie draft.
He was going to, though.
What was he the number 1 pick, though, right?
Yeah, he knew he was going to do it.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
he
but,
knew he was going to get Saquon.
Yeah.
So he had Saquon,
But
he
he
had
didn't have him
Alvin,
yet.
and he was a weaker receiver. So in his eyes, this is a good trade for him. But obviously, at the end of the year, we all know it wasn't.
I mean, this could have been the difference between Peyton winning the division and Billy not even making the playoffs. I mean, that's the kind of magnitude of this trade right here. But it goes to show you
But
now championships are not just built during the
Right.
regular season. They're built in the offseason between the waiver wire and the offseason trading and the rookie draft and stuff like that. I mean, that's when that's kind of when you align yourself up for a championship run.
But I don't understand, why would you trade Zeke instead of trading Kamara?
Yeah, I don't
That's
get that
what I
either.
don't understand. I mean, Zeke's a better running back than Kamara is. Fantasy and real life, arguably. So that's the part that doesn't make sense to me.
If it was
For a
me,
receiver
I wouldn't
that-
have
granted, you
traded
liked it.
any of those running backs. But that's just me.
Dude, he
So
could
you
have.
would have had all three?
Oh yeah, dude, all three of those guys were putting up like top tier linebacker numbers in our league. I would have ridden that 3-headed dragon to the championship.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
All right, we ready to move on to number 2?
But yeah,
All right, go ahead.
here we
Moving
go.
on.
Number 2.
I know it has to be me.
so
Pat. Now, I know probably 1 and 2 has me in it. And
What-
I'm thinking that this one is ours. Am I right?
this number 2 is actually does not involve you, Isaac. And believe it or not, it is.
What?
This goes back to 2015, a trade that a lot of people may have forgotten. And it was the 2015 trade between Matt and Daquan, where Matt gave up Devontae Adams for Daquan's first round pick, Julio Jones. First round. No, sorry. Matt gave up Devontae Adams and a first round pick for Julio Jones, which seems a little steep, especially right now. But you got to think this was the year Julio had his, I think if it wasn't his career best, it was his top 3 career best seasons since he's been in Atlanta. And Devontae Adams was not the player he has been of late. And back in 2015, this was a trade that seemed a little risky at the time, and it definitely was, because Daquan only ended up winning 2 games the rest of that year. He ended up finishing 2-10. And then on the top of that, you've got Matt, who goes to the playoffs and wins a championship from that. And Julio Jones, I think, was the number 1 receiver that year in fantasy in our league. This trade right here set Matt up nicely to get his I want to say that was his first championship in the 2 that he ended up winning, and to set him up real nicely for sure. But honestly, I'm not even sure what the first round pick was used for. So I obviously didn't pan out for Daquan because he has never won a championship. So,
And I just want to add this: he's never beaten me in the 9 games we played against each other. Just pointing that out.
Daquan, if you're listening, or if anyone's in
that,
Top Shot is
Daquan?
listening,
Boom,
9-0.
roasted.
Wait, hold on. I'm not.
Over there.
There's too many of us.
James.
All right, are we? Where are we now? We good?
Jeez.
yeah, no, that was, like I said, that was a top 2 trade for sure, because of the fact that this was literally the trade that put the stamp on Matt's championship run in 2015.
Cool.
I was going to say Devontae Adams was young, but I mean, that's why this trade now seems crazy. But
He hadn't
was
broken
young,
out.
he was
He
really
hadn't broken out
unproven. So,
back then.
but back then, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He was still young. He was still learning. So
When I saw that trade, I was like, Daquan, what are you doing? But I don't know.
He was thinking,
That's just me. I wouldn't trade away Julio Jones like that.
but you got to think that was definitely. I think Daquan knew his season was over at that point, and so he was trying to build for the future.
Yeah, that was before. Yeah, that was before we made that rule.
Like that was definitely a big trade.
Yeah. We ready?
Yep.
Moving on. I know that this
Number
one is.
1.
Oh, number 1.
Number 1. All right. So this trade right here is another one that literally set the tone for 2018, and it was definitely a headliner trade, one that everyone was talking about for one reason or the next. Very controversial, but you cannot argue it does not belong here. The 2018 trade between Isaac and Kyle. Isaac giving up Jared Goff, Kyle giving up DeAndre Hopkins. This right here tops the cake.
I cannot even talk about it. I can't talk about this.
I've ever seen in my life. Number one.
The system is I don't even know. The fact that y'all allowed that is just blows my mind.
And that's why this is the number one trade, because of how many people were talking about it. What literally this trade right here, if this trade doesn't happen, that takes a lot of points away from Isaac's offense. And Jared Goff, I mean, Kyle didn't even keep him. That's what makes it even worse. So
they say Kyle is still drunk to this day. That's what they say.
That's what they say.
But to be fair, Jared Goff put up some great numbers last year, and if you would have kept him, I mean, I don't understand.
I mean, it's still not comparable for a quarterback and a receiver like that, though. I mean, that was just a crazy trade.
Yeah.
You just hate her because you didn't get him.
But again, the segment here, top 10 noteworthy trades. And this was noteworthy, man. This is one I think everyone will always remember. The one that Kyle looked silly on, and Isaac literally laughed all the way to the bank to the semifinals this year. In my opinion, it belongs to number one. You guys let me know, though. Definitely give us some feedback. What you think of the top 10. Do some of these teams even belong here? Is there a trade that we've left out that maybe should have ended up from this list, even as an honorable mention? Again, a lot of these trades, if you look at them, if you're thinking about how do these trades impact, especially now, the league, it goes to show you those offseason trades, for one way or another, ends up making or can make a big difference in someone's season. So it's something to think about for sure. Going now that the off season's almost here.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Are we ready to move into bold predictions, guys?
Nah, bro.
All right.
Nah, bro.
No, so we got don't make me cough, man. I'm still getting better. So we got a couple predictions here. Pat and Isaac both gave us one, so I'll let you guys go ahead and talk about those, and then once you kind of get through your things, we'll kind of discuss as a group and see what we all think.
Yeah. Trying to catch my breath over here after all that. Now,
that's what she said. That's what she said.
All right.
That's what she said.
I can only do it so quick. I got to scroll back and forth. It's a whole thing.
Oh, man. So, yeah, very bold predictions. This one, Isaac, I guess you want me to start this one off. This one's definitely bold, man. And let me start off by saying my bold prediction is Billy will not make the playoffs in 2019.
That's actually not that bold, honestly. I don't feel like it's that big of a statement with the division he's in. But go ahead with your case.
Ooh, I'm glad you got my back here, Isaac. No, first of all,
I got you.
Let me start off by saying no team has ever won back-to-back divisional titles in the Elite 12 East Division, aka basically Cameron's division. The past 3 years, no team's ever won back-to-back titles. In fact, I don't believe any team has ever. No team has ever even made the playoffs in that division back-to-back years. To make it even crazier, Cameron's never missed the playoffs twice. Add that onto it, so Billy's got that competing against him. Cameron's got the second overall pick and the second overall waiver wire pick on top of that. So you've got one team that's literally going to be building and building up this offseason, or should be able to at least. Billy also gave his second-round waiver wire pick to Jameson for a fourth-round waiver wire pick in a totally different trade. So Billy's got that going against him. And then Peyton's team can only improve where it is if you look at it. I mean, he led the conference in offensive scoring, likely going to he's gonna have a lot of these guys again. I feel like on offense, which means all he has to do is literally put together a decent defense, and he should be able to be at least in the wild card. If not, maybe upset Cameron in that division right now. And if I just literally again, I see Peyton and Cameron as legit contenders for that division, and it is so hard for three teams in the same division to make
That's what she
playoffs.
said.
It's hard for three. I mean, that's kind of a stretch, but I guess I'll put it.
Isaac's just looking for it. He's looking for the opportunity.
I think that's all he's done.
He's saying it was so hard. He's like, it's so hard. I'm like, that's what she said.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say it now. You look in 2016 of how bad of a season I had, and then you look at, and then I bounced back and go 10-2, and then now I had another crappy season.
Bad season.
I'm gonna have the second round pick, and whereas before in 2017 I had the first. So I would say I'm looking pretty good right now.
But if you mess this up, you got no excuses.
Oh yeah, for Cameron. Yeah, if you screw this up, man, you're gonna look bad.
I am winning
I mean,
the Elite 12 East. This is my division to win.
Shots fired.
I'm
I hope
notorious
Hayden's
for throwing
in the room
shots.
with you right now listening to this.
This isn't going to surprise anybody. I'm notorious for throwing shots. Spurs up, baby. Spurs up 2019.
So just really quickly, just to play devil's advocate. I mean, I agree. I don't think Billy's going to make the playoffs. But just to play devil's advocate, he was a top 3 scorer in our conference last season. He's got a ton of talent on his roster that he can return. I mean, Zeke, Cooper, Thielen, Derwin James, Luke Kuechly. Peyton has a great offense, but he hasn't proven anything in the last 2 seasons. And he's not afraid to trade. He's not afraid to make moves. He's someone who continuously is active and builds. So, I mean, I don't think he'll make the playoffs, but I think he's got pieces there. Although I still agree with you guys. I just had to play devil's advocate there.
Did you say Amari Cooper was a valuable pick? That's what I would.
Amari Cooper destroyed me in the playoffs last year. So yes, he can be. I don't think he is, but he absolutely can be. He can have big games.
But here,
I know. I just wanted to point out again that you lost.
You
really did.
I know. You wanted me to say it for you.
You got wrecked.
I
It was
understand.
bad.
Get bodied. I know.
Put out like an 80 piece. He put an 80 piece on you. How you let that happen?
There.
Yeah, that was your team.
Yeah. He beat all. He knocked us all out. Really did.
yeah, no, I mean,
Well, he knocked
me out.
I'm about to,
He knocked you out.
Well,
and
he
he
knocked
knocked
He knocked me out in
Isaac.
the regular season. He knocked me out in the regular season.
And then Patrick.
I'm about to say this is the first time he's ever beat me. Granted, it was where it counted, but I've owned him and he scraped by this time.
You can.
I told him I'm coming for his ass this
when it
year.
mattered.
You,
He owned you when it mattered.
you can tell.
Yeah, but I'm like 5-0 against him lifetime, so 5-1 now.
You can tell when Isaac's passionate about something.
This past season. That's okay. It's okay, Isaac.
You can tell when Isaac's passionate about his argument when you hear him pounding on the table in the background.
He just sounded like a lawyer. He's just over there pounding on it. Like I have to edit it out during the editing.
Hey, I watched too much Office, man. When Dwight Schrute's making his speech, and he said to make more emphasis, you got to pound on the table.
I love that episode.
He has too many Office references. Yeah. All right, so I'm next with the bold prediction. Now, I'm going a little bit different route that's not LCC based. I'm going NFL based.
God.
I am going to say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, my team, will not finish last in the NFC South. Granted, it sounds crazy
Damn, so you need to
because
cue
we've been
some
there for
people
like 5
laughing in the
years now.
background. Cue it up.
All right. Anyway, Bruce Arians, who's our new head coach, turned a 5-11 Cardinals team in 2012 into a 10-6 team in 2013, which was his first year. They were 11-5 in 2014, 13-3 in 2015. This man rocks a 6 a .636 all-time winning percentage as a head coach. That's at the Colts when he was the interim for Pagano when he had cancer, and then that's when he was the Cardinals. That's a 10-win season average, which is ridiculous. Which, if with that average, 10 wins would have put us both up ahead of the Panthers and the Falcons last year. By the way, he's a 2-time Coach of the Year award winner. I feel like Bruce hired Todd Bowles as a defensive coordinator, and when he was the coordinator, he had them ranked 6th total in yards allowed, 7th in points allowed in 2013. He improved that unit to 5th in points allowed in 2014. Their second tenure, he had them ranked 5th in rushing defense at 8th opponent passer rating and 9th in takeaways. I mean, this man was named the assistant coach of the year that year, which landed him the job with the Jets.
Can I just go ahead and say something? I don't think any head coach, no matter how good their history, can save the Buccaneers.
You're just a hater because you're a Panther fan. Anyway, like I was saying.
No bias.
No bias, my ass. But anyway, that's a pretty solid resume for both of them, for Todd Bowles and as Bruce Arians. But also, I feel like Jameis Winston will have a great year this year. It's his contract year. Bruce Arians is the quarterback whisperer. He's taught Big Ben, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, and Carson Palmer. I mean, those are some heavy hitters that you got on your resume saying that you mentored, which he did, all 4 of those guys. And the style offense he runs, Jameis should thrive. So we will see how this goes, but that is my bold prediction. And I'm going to laugh and point this shit out on the show next year when we don't finish last and the Panthers or Falcons finish last. Just saying. Boom, roasted.
I just want to point out how it's bold to predict a team won't finish in 4th place. Like it's so like.
I mean, that's how bad our team's been. I mean, it's not that big of a surprise.
Yeah, 9 of the last 11 years they finished 4th place.
We sucked.
Guys, I was about to say, since 2009, the Bucs have only finished better than 4th twice. So it's definitely a bold statement, I feel like, man, just statistically speaking, you know?
That's what I'm saying. I wanted to go out there and go bold. I feel really good about this season. I'm not that scared of the Panthers, not that scared of the Falcons. I'm scared of the Saints, but we usually beat them once anyway, So
to tie it to fantasy, who on this team, offense and defense, is fantasy relevant next season?
Mike Evans is always fantasy relevant.
Yeah, obviously.
Okay, defense, Quan Alexander, Lavonte David. I mean, what else you need?
I think defense, when it comes down to the scheme they end up running there. But offensively, I honestly, as a fantasy quarterback, I'm okay with Jameis Winston. Like, if I'm going for like a late QB1 to draft slash QB2, then yeah, dude, if I get Jameis Winston, I'll take that. They're a passing offense. I mean, I'll take that every day of the week. Or they were.
And he's got a cannon.
They've got to be. They're always. He's going to throw 325 yards and 2 touchdowns every week. He might, throw 2 picks and a fumble or get benched, but I mean, he'll put up a lot of points. Fantasy,
Right there.
I mean, granted, that was last year, and our coaching staff was all types of crazy. I mean, I don't understand the benching aspect of it. I mean, Ryan Fitzmagic had his moment to shine. He did great.
Shout out to him.
That's what we wanted him to do in those 4 games. Jameis's team, he came back. He just couldn't get the ball rolling. But towards the end of the season, Jameis was really good. He limited his turnovers, and he was still throwing.
Hashtag release Jameis. Hashtag release Jameis.
Like Jameson said, it's because we were down so much, so we'd always have to throw the ball to catch up.
I will say I do like Bruce Arians a lot, but I mean I still feel like the Falcons and Panthers. The Panthers and the Falcons were beat up last year. The Falcons secondary was like 5th stringers, like grocery baggers from the street, and Carolina's line was non-existent. So I think a healthy game.
I'm about to say you can't blame that on injuries for the Panthers. You guys just didn't have talent on the team.
We had like 3 linemen go down before the season started.
Yeah, and Cam Newton was banged up since midway through the year. He was really hurt.
But even if your offensive line is healthy, they're not relevant. They're not
our
that
offensive
good.
line was probably the worst in the division, in my opinion.
Well, it was solid
Oh,
for
yeah.
the 8 weeks of the season.
No, not really.
Not really.
Not really.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I forgot
Dude,
the first 8 weeks.
yeah, it wasn't. Trust me, that wasn't the offensive line's talent that was transferring to their wins. It was Cam Newton being healthy, and I think the hits that Cam Newton took in the first half of the year is a story of why he ended up being banged up to begin with.
But I will say this. The Panthers' O-line is really good at run blocking. You just see how much they open for Christian McCaffrey. But as far as pass blocking and Cam's injury, you can see that they do have some needs as far as pass blocking on that O-line. But anyway, that's way off topic, you guys. But next, I got Fantasy Valentines. So, surprisingly, this is not a Tampa Bay player. Shocker.
Hey, real quick.
This is a guy.
Is
What?
Cameron still here?
What?
Cameron? Is Cameron still here? I haven't heard him say anything in a while.
I'm still here.
Yeah, Cameron's still here.
All right. I didn't hear you talk about Panthers offensive line. I was kind of
He got scared. I didn't know he was.
All right, Isaac. Go ahead and jump into your Valentine. Sorry, man.
Yeah. Sorry, my ass. All right, next. Yeah. Anyway, but like I said, my fantasy Valentine, I was really high on him when he was coming out of college. He was injured all 2018. Most owners probably forgot about him. It is Darius Geis. They spent a second-round pick on him out of LSU. This man accumulated over 3,000 yards, averaged a 6.5, 29 touchdowns in 3 seasons, which if you look at the stats, most of those came in the last 2 seasons. And on top of it, it was in the best conference in college football, the SEC. You know, shout out, Spurs up. Real life, not the team.
not Cameron's team.
But anyway, the Redskins don't have a ground and pound workhorse to compete for the starting job unless AP's really re-signed for some reason. I mean, AP's an old man, but he rushed for over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns last season. So throw in a young guy who's hungry, hasn't proven anything at the NFL level. Like he will, show some people what he's made of. But you guys might be thinking, well, they do have Chris Thompson, who's that third down catching back. Well, Geis isn't that much of a catching back. He's only had 32 catches for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns in 3 seasons. So he's going to be the ground and pound. Chris Thompson's going to be the third down catching back. So you don't have to worry about his productivity. He still should be fantasy relevant and be able to rely on, especially with him being in the waiver wire this year in our Elite 12. I mean, if I was Bryson, I would think long and hard. That's what she said about Bryson. About that first overall waiver wire pick. I mean,
thanks for pointing them out for me, Isaac.
Yeah, you're welcome, Bryson. If you're listening, get Darius Geis the first overall. I'll text it to him. He will listen to me. But anyway, he could be
listening.
He'll listen when I text him. Anyway, but he could be on the waiver wire waiver wire for the top shotters if Jordan doesn't use a keeper on him. I'm sure he will. He's smart. You won't have to pay anything to keep him. So his potential is significant regarding where he's picked with his potential production next year.
I'll agree, guys.
Yeah, no, I can get behind it for sure. I'd take a chance on Darius, guys. Like especially if you can get him in the waiver wire, like you were saying. I mean,
he's up
this
there,
can be dirt cheap.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, I think it'll be a mid RB2, maybe a high RB2, if the offense can stay on the field.
Yeah, no, I'm totally behind that.
He could. I mean, he could be gold or he could be crap. I mean, we don't know, but like I said, the stats that he's put up at college and the fact that he was injured and he's hungry to prove himself, I mean, he's a guy I would think to watch out for next season.
Cool. All right, Pat, who's your fantasy Valentine?
My fantasy Valentine is a young gun guy named Bradley Chubb from North Carolina State. Listen, dude, to me, he is Von Miller 2.0, except a bigger, badder, player at that position. And I know some people may be shaking their head. How really? I mean, they look kind of the same size. Dude, Bradley Chubb outweighs Von Miller by 25 pounds and is only an inch taller. And on top of that, Bradley Chubb's speed is super, super quick, in my opinion, for that size. Just playing outside linebacker. And ding, 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 because of the rule change we got, man, he's a defensive end now. This guy is the cream of the crop. In fact, if you were to throw Bradley Chubb into the mix of defensive tackles and defensive end, the rankings, he would have ended up finishing 15th out of all of them. So I mean, borderline almost a defensive line one player. And I think this year, now he's got a year under his belt, he's going to explode. And the coaching changes, I think, only make it a better scenario for Bradley Chubb and Von Miller. I like both of these guys, but I would take, for dynasty purposes, I would take Bradley Chubb over him, regardless if we're talking about linebacker or defensive end.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with this one. I don't know about him being a 2.0 because Bradley Chubb's more of a power rusher and Von Miller's at speed. I mean, just look at what he did to Cam Newton in the Super Bowl. I mean, that speed was lethal.
Well, and
I'm sure 3 Panther fans in this party would know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I know where you're coming from, but here's what I like about Bradley Chubb. 43 tackles last year. Go look at Von Miller. Only 29. And when we're talking about defensive linemen in our league where tackles count for even more points, Bradley Chubb's value is just going to go up astronomically, on top of the fact that he got 12 sacks last year, which I know you can say that, well, Von Miller had 14, that's 2 sacks more. Trust me, man, those sacks compared to the tackles that Bradley Chubb got and will get this year is unmatched. I mean, give me Bradley Chubb as my starting defensive lineman, and I'll be set.
I mean, one more devil's advocate argument for Von Miller. The reason that he doesn't get as much tackles is because he's already at the quarterback by the time the running back's away. Because, I mean, he's already back there. Bradley Chubb, like I said, he kind of stays at the line. But, like I said, he will get after quarterback if need be, especially in Nick Fangio's he's the new head coach. And you saw what he did with the Bears last year with Khalil Mack and Leonard Floyd and all those guys that they got there. I mean, that defense was nasty. Yeah. And I really think the Broncos defense is going to go back to that heyday that they had.
And I think, honestly, this scenario reminds me a lot of Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa type deal. I mean, either way, you get one of them, you're going to be very happy this year.
Yeah, I was just going to say the Nick Fangio thing. I mean, I'm definitely high on Broncos linebackers this season. I mean, the rule change, the coach change, probably not going to have a great quarterback, so the defense will be on the field a lot. I mean, I love all of them this season, so I agree with that.
Did you just throw Trubisky under the bus again?
Did I what?
Did you just throw Trubisky under the bus?
Yes, I did. I've got Trubisky stats that I have not said on the show yet, so just wait for later in the offseason. I'm going to rail on him again. So everyone can wait for that to happen.
And he's going to rail on the production next year too, and then you're going to have to backtrack.
I'm never going to backtrack. He could win 7 Super Bowls in a row, and I'm never going to backtrack. I'll kill myself.
Oh my God! It's getting dark over here in the commissioner's clubhouse. Jeez.
Never going to happen. I'll put a hit on him.
All right, Cam, you're next.
Yeah, go ahead, Cam.
Cam.
Oh, what's up?
It's your go, man.
Is it my bold prediction?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna start off by saying Cam freaking Newton. He's coming off the same soldier. Sorry, slur my words there. He's coming off the same shoulder surgery as Andrew Luck, and you saw what Andrew Luck's been doing. This dude's been balling, and I think a healthy Cam.
He also took.
All right, let me finish.
He also took a year off.
Hey.
No, you interrupted me with the Bucks, so I'm going to interrupt you with this.
This Cam is going to be better than 2015 Cam, depending on if he comes in back to the field this season or in 2020. This dude will be, mark my words, fantasy MVP, league MVP, Super Bowl MVP.
Ooh, that is very the Super Bowl part.
You're
is
not
where
going to
you
make
kind
the
of
Super
lost
Bowl.
me
I
there.
mean, you can just keep
No
dreaming.
one is going to be bolder than that prediction right there. Guaranteed.
Probably not.
Yeah, I'm about to say that makes my Buck prediction. I mean, that just threw out the window for being a bold prediction. I mean, this one, he's saying he's going to be the MVP. He's saying he's going to carry them through the playoffs. Then he's saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, and then they're going to be MVP. I mean, that's a
Cam
big.
Newton.
Yeah, we
statement.
wanted
Cameron Jarrell Newton, 2019 or 2020, depending on if he doesn't come back this year and he still rests. But this man will get his. I don't know anybody that wants him more than this guy.
I'm going to laugh when he gets cut by the Panthers.
No, he's not.
If anybody's getting cut, it's Fat Jameis. That's all I know. Fat Jameis got benched last year. That's never happened again. Ever.
Hey, didn't Josh Norman get cut by you guys and nobody thought that either?
Gosh, Norman.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I'm fine with
At least Cam's never got benched to some trash Ryan Fitzpatrick. This dude goes from team to team to
He
team
beat
to
the
team.
Super Bowl champs.
He just walks in there and starts for you guys the first 4 weeks.
Here's an interesting fact, real quick.
Yeah, and he beat the Saints and the Eagles. You're crazy, dude. He was a baller.
Hey,
he was Fitzmagic, but he was MVP candidate for.
Has Jameis ever made the playoffs? Okay.
Hang on. Hey, what?
No, but the
All right,
besides like
we got to keep moving.
All right. Let me just interject real quick. It's
Cam's
funny
been
we're
to the Super
talking
Bowl,
about
just
this.
put that out
All right. Cam Newton, 39
I
points.
got that L.
Jesus Christ, guys. All right. Averaging 39.6 points a game. Jameis, 38.8 this past year.
there. Wait, so say those stats one more time.
Cam Newton averaged 39.6 points a game in our league, while Jameis Winston averaged 38.8. Almost the exact same player.
That's hilarious.
Average
because
points.
An unhealthy Cam, unhealthy is better than a healthy Jameis. Wow, I love it.
You also forget Jameis didn't start for how many games.
That's even more embarrassing. He got benched to Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Well, I was going off averages there. That was just averages between the games they
I'm about to
played.
say,
Well, you know what was interesting? Cam Newton's completion percentage was the highest it's been this past season in his entire career by like 9 points. It was like 68%.
yeah, because he's not throwing deep. That's where he gets a lot of incompletions, which skews his stats. But with his shoulder hurting, he could only throw short
it was
passes.
a scheme. They schemed it like that. They were trying to.
Well, that and he also said he couldn't throw past 20
I'll
yards.
just say this. I think Cam is a much better. I think they're both good fantasy quarterbacks. I think Cam Newton's a slightly better, probably more than slightly better real quarterback.
I mean, I'm not saying that. I mean, I would take Cam Newton over Jameis fantasy wise. Because Cam Newton's.
I would still take Jameis over some quarterbacks in real life, and I would take him over a lot of quarterbacks in fantasy. So he's still a relevant guy.
Yeah. And Cam Newton was on track actually to finish 5th among quarterbacks in fantasy our league before they pulled him out, which is kind of crazy to think about if you look at that too. I think now it's definitely a bold statement, but I do get why he's your fantasy Valentine for sure, though.
Thank you.
Right. So I'll go ahead and move us forward. So I've got Jarvis Landry as my fantasy Valentine. I love Jarvis Landry this season. So I've got a couple reasons here. Baker Mayfield, he averaged 226 passing yards a game last season. That was ranked for 18th among quarterbacks. But if you take out guys ahead of him that didn't play as many games, Foles, Wentz, Flacco, Winston, Fitzpatrick, and Mullins, that puts him at 12. So every quarterback that was in the top 12 had a wide receiver that was in the top 12. They had a wide receiver 1. So Baker, I think he can improve significantly. I don't think he's going to be a QB1. I think he might be in that 13, 14, 15 range. But I think he's going to have a wide receiver 1. I think he's going to pass for a lot of yards. I think it's going to be Jarvis Landry. Up until Jarvis Landry's previous 3 seasons before last year, when he finished 20th in our league, he finished 7th, 14th, and 4th. So to think that he'll be outside of the top 15 with Baker Mayfield, year 2, offensive coordinator, who's now the head coach, I just don't see it happening. While there's also, I think there's going to be regression from wide receivers who finished ahead of him. Tyler Lockett, Tyler Boyd, Amari Cooper, Adam Thielen, So these guys could finish behind him, or at least some of them, and push him up. So they signed him to a lot of money. He was only in the first year of that new deal. There's not a lot of competition. Antonio Callaway, David Njoku, Corey Coleman was released or traded. So I see a lot of potential for Jarvis Landry. I think he's easily a bottom wide receiver 1, high wide receiver 2, and I couldn't see him finishing beyond 13 this season. So
that's crazy.
I think he'll be drafted a lot later. I think he's going to be drafted like wide receiver 18 or 20. So I think we'll get a lot of value from him.
I just all right, so here's a stat for you. Tyler Lockett averaged 19 points this past year. Jarvis Landry averaged 18.9, only a 2-point difference overall. Jarvis finished 2 points behind him. Do you think, and I know your answer, but do you think Jarvis Landry, the system, the offense, the quarterback, ends up having a better year than guys like Kenny Golladay, Tyler Boyd, Tyler Lockett and their systems?
Yes. Kenny Galladay's the only league. I 100% guarantee right now that he'll have a better season than Tyler Lockett and Tyler Boyd. Tyler Lockett was incredibly efficient, hyper efficient with his touchdown catches. It's not going to happen again. And Tyler Boyd was played so well because AJ Green wasn't there. So when AJ Green comes back, Tyler Boyd's going to regress. Who was the other one? Kenny Golladay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's the only one that has the potential to finish ahead of Jarvis Landry. And even that's iffy. So if I had to bet today, I'd put Jarvis Landry ahead of all of them. I'm going to pick him ahead of all of them for sure.
I would pick him too, but I just wouldn't put him as a wide receiver 1. I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, if he was my number 1 guy, I would not be happy. But if he's number 2, I mean, I'm stoked.
He's no Antonio Brown.
Give it to him.
Yeah,
or DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah,
no, God, no.
No Julio.
Wide receiver 1 goes from 1 to 12, guys. I'm not talking about like a top 4 wide receiver. But, I mean, a guy like – I'll take him ahead of Brandon Cooks. I'll take him ahead of Cooper Kupp. Brandon Cooks is one of those guys that's always on that. I mean, I have him in that Robert Woods territory this year. And Robert Woods was a top 10 wide receiver last season.
Well, I do think Jarvis will be cheap for most teams and in most drafts, and regardless of your fantasy league. But production-wise, I don't know if he ends up as a wide receiver 1.
I mean, if he does, it'll be low end, like 12.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to be a top 10 guy. I think it's more realistic to be a high 2, but he was a low 2 last year, almost a 3, and I can guarantee that's not going to happen again. Absolutely guarantee it's not going to happen again. He'll be a top 14 guy, wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, you see what Jarvis did in Miami with all those quarterbacks. Tannehill was solid a couple years, not great, fantasy solid. But, I mean, then Brock Osweiler came in there, and who the hell else knows came in there, and he still put up numbers. So that's why I really think with Baker, he's definitely going to be much better than he was last year.
Are you guys picking Amari Cooper or Jarvis Landry?
That's probably.
They're going to be similar.
I'm going to pick Jarvis.
Give me AC.
All right, he wants the big ability of Coop. Anyone else?
I'll take Landry. He's going to have more catches.
Yeah, a lot more catches.
Cooper's going to have more boom or bust. But
if we're going off the way Amari Cooper was playing near the end of the season, my God.
Do you really think he's going to put up 80 fantasy points again next year? Hell no.
Well, the last 3 weeks of the season, you guys, Amari Cooper had a whopping total, you ready for this, of 29 points between 3 weeks.
There you go. That's Amari Cooper for you.
So that's my reason I would take Jarvis over Amari.
Yeah, I like it. Cool. Well, that's it, guys. That's all we got on the show, Doc. So, I mean, if there's anything else, it would just be free talk. So, anything before we?
Yeah, let me go ahead and say something real quick. Jameis Winston is 6'4", 227. So, if you think 6'4", 227 is fat,
look at that belly on him. Look at that belly on him. That's all I'm saying. Look at that belly.
He's got a dad bod. He's got a dad bod.
Look at that belly.
You're making all the dads out there feel proud.
Yeah, what's wrong with the dad bod? He's out there making people proud.
Oh, man. All right, guys. All right, that's it.
Well, thanks.
I will say this, Cameron, thanks for joining us, though. We were really the first time we've ever had 4 people on the show. I think it was a lot of fun. Yeah,
Yeah, love to
Appreciate
argue
it.
with you, man.
Love to argue with
Yeah.
Isaac.
Yeah.
it's if anyone else
go
wants to
Spurs.
join, we'd love to have you guys on. You asked Cameron, didn't have to do a whole lot of heavy lifting there, but we do definitely like to bring a little bit of your own flavor to the table for sure to help us out.
Put the
A little
title of the
pizzazz.
show. Cameron Nugent, only the Spurs, makes an appearance. Way more views. Just putting that
Way
out
more
there.
views. I hope so. We only have 5 views for last week, man. What a disappointment. Hopefully we can get some more this week for sure.
Down
Yeah,
week.
what the hell is with you guys, man?
Down week. All right, guys. Well, that's it. We're out. I'll play this out. Cameron, stick around after the show for a few minutes, and that's it, guys. Bye.
Adios.
Patrick, Isaac, you want to say goodbye?
Nah.
Hell nah. No. Bye, everyone.
So long, Terror Nuggets.